you doing? How's Texas?
Man, I'm
How's the
doing
market?
great. Texas is warm. It's I think you're Florida, so you understand. We got this idea that maybe we were going to have a winter. It was supposed to be some harsh thing, and we got it cold enough. It busted another pipe here at the property, and and it's been warm ever since. Basically, so
You get one or two of those in Texas. I've never had any of those in Florida.
wow, yeah, maybe I
With
need to move that way.
Well, dude, I like Florida. I got to tell you, blockchain out. What do you mind saying what county or city you're in?
Yeah, no, I'm just north of Houston on Lake Conroe.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny, people in Texas don't mind. Yeah, I live in Houston at 1122 Richmond, and you can just come and knock at my door, but I will be loaded.
Yeah, exactly. We got guns, and we're
That's
we're
right.
proud of it. We're happy of it.
Chris, why don't you tell everybody in the audience, because I know we're trying to like cross pollinate all these communities. And one of the things I really, really like about you is one, you're a veteran trader, and two, you, like me, have a penchant for trying to help some people that may not have the breadth of experience in markets. And I think we see a really cool opportunity for people that don't have that breadth to participate in this market. But as we were saying, it's a shame how many of these people are taking shortcuts. It's really going to be costly. So that's one of the things we're going to get into, not financial advice, but your experience. Hey, what have you learned? Mistakes you made, mistakes you've been in the digital cycle for a while, right? You've had some experience now. Anyway, bro, so good to have you. I really, really admire the work you're doing. So welcome.
Oh man, excited to be here. Man, your growth just been absolutely off the charts, man. Because we talked originally back, I think like May of last year, and you were just kind of getting out there and feeling what's going on and whatnot. And man, like I noticed the last like few months, it's just been like you're everywhere, man. You got this great stuff and these great interviews going on YouTube, and you do these great spaces there on X and Twitter there. And man, I see you popping up with you know because you've been through markets, you've been through cycles of things, and so you understand a lot of this stuff again, like you're saying about me, that a lot of the new people don't. And so I think we need as many of us out there really kind of talking about this, because trading's great and all, once you learn how to do it. But the problem is most people never learn, right? 90 days in, 95+% of the people that started in are out again, lost everything. And it's not because they can't do it; it's because they don't know what they need to do and how they need to approach it. But I put out a post earlier today, I believe it was, and I was mentioning my little thing here in crypto, and I came in 2017 in January and bought my first sets of Bitcoin. Then I think I paid like $1,000 or whatever for it, right around that, and here we are, just a short 7 years later, almost exactly to the date. And and we're doing what, 52,000 now. I mean, that's 52 times, and all you have to do is buy and hold. But a lot of people, they come in and they get really they feel like, oh, it's not going to happen soon enough. They're very impatient, it's very emotional, and so they try to trade their way through it without even knowing what they're doing with trading. And man, they just end up losing what they had. And then they look, and they do this for a few years, they look back and they go, damn, if I had just bought and held. So my advice, just general advice to people who are out there trying to trade, is you should have some sort of bag of Bitcoin that sits there, that you just buy and you just put in, you just hold. Because 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're going to look back at that and you're going to go, holy crap, if only I had just held that first Bitcoin I bought back then. I could have traded along the way some other stuff, but man, if I just held, and if I bought a little more when I just held, and it would just be absolutely amazing. For what they're trying to do. Everybody's trying to get out of this whole government fed induced kind of poor lifestyle kind of thing, where you're just fighting to live.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question on that, because I have a thesis about today's price that most people don't. I think most people look back and go, whoa, he bought $1,000 Bitcoin. Whoa, he's a freaking god, right? Now, this is my question to you. Let's say in 2017, you had $10 million in family net worth. Would you have put $10 million into Bitcoin at $1,000?
In 2017, Probably not. I was one of those guys who heard about Bitcoin like in 2010.
Can I ask you why you wouldn't have deployed a massive amount of money at $1,000? Well, let me ask you another question. You got $10 million stacked aside in your briefcase in your home under your Mac 10. Would you deploy that $10 million if you had to deploy it? And you got to deploy all of it. I know that's silly, but would you feel comfortable about deploying the $10 million at 52,000?
Yeah.
Interesting answer, guys. $1,000 he pauses,
yeah.
but at 52,000, he's like, I'd put it all in. Okay?
Well, I got to think back to what I was thinking when I first came in. Okay, so first and foremost, I've been a trader, investor for almost 30 years. So I was the guy, like I said, I heard about Bitcoin back about
Hey, trader, investor, let's talk about what those are. Because they're very different things.
Yeah, exactly. Investor, you're looking to buy into something that you believe is going to go higher over time. You're not talking about a year out. You're not talking about maybe even 3 years. You're talking like 5, 10, 20, 30 years out. Something that's going to create, at times, because the potential to create even generational wealth, right? Trading is, hey, listen, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to usually swing or positional trade, for a bit. Some people maybe day trade, but the way I look at it is your trading basically is going to get you your income. You're like just trading for income, so you can pay your bills. Investing's that thing that's going to create that wealth over time. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Okay, and they're different skill sets, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can use the same tools and the same ideas, but the shorter your time frame, the more emotional you're going to be. And that's the toughest part about trading. That is the one thing. It finds itself in impatience, which is huge. Because again, people end up getting out of position too soon because it doesn't go up fast enough for them. They're trying to turn, $100 into $1 million in 5 days. Silly stuff like that. Stuff that really at the end of the day doesn't make any sense. But when you're in it and you see somebody else got lucky because some crap coin that they bought, especially, oh my God, especially with crypto, some piece of crap thing, flies up and they're like, oh my God. But, the people that get on that are the exception, not the rule. And most of the time it's luck. They've done it in that, and then they put money in like 57 other things. They just happen to get one that actually, popped out of there.
Totally. How many successful traders that work less than 6 hours a day? I'm talking about just day traders that work less than 6 hours a day. Have you seen be successful in your 30-year career?
Not many. It's a very small percentage. Usually those that do, they're not trying to day trade. It's more multi-day or week swing trading, positional trading even, where you're looking maybe like a couple of months hold time. The shorter your time frame goes, the less successful the odds are increase against you. The smaller your time frame goes, it's less forgiving. You become more emotional, and I think it even has it in the mindset, because if you're serious about investing, you are thinking long term. If you're serious about it, right?
Right.
So your emotions, it goes up and down, and you might still get a little emotional, but overall, you still got that thing. But it's just the same thing happened on a much smaller time frame. So if somebody's trying to day trade the 15-minute time frame, you really have to have your emotions figured out. You really have to understand what you're doing. In all of it, risk management's paramount, because you can get in there and you can do 5, 10 trades in a row, win. And you really crappy risk management. You do your next trade and you lose it all and more. And that's what I've seen happen most often across the thousands of traders that I've talked to over the last almost 3 decades now. That is the common denominator. That's what usually happens.
Yeah, I refuse now to listen to anyone's advice unless they're willing to show me their P&L. Because the other thing, in this space, I mean, I'm up 670%. Yeah, dude, on $12.
Yeah.
You want to flip for it? I mean, but you can't take advice from somebody that's got $12 position, right? That's really frightening, and it's a little hard to differentiate between who's who. Because I mean, I've heard some people that sound like they are doctors and Bitcoin and blockchain, and then you realize, wow, they don't own any Bitcoin, or in fact, they don't own anything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the market, man. Do you think this industry is fully accepting 52,299 after $500 million walked into Bitcoin yesterday? Did we underestimate this thing, man? A lot of people were looking at this, and I'm sensing that nobody expected this move.
Yeah, I think the consensus was sell the news, or buy the rumor, sell the news. And then what you had was a lot of people who've been very bearish the entire year up. Every time Bitcoin would stall a little bit, make a new high, they'd be like, okay, now we're going back down. Now we're going to 12,000. Now we're going whatever. And we've continued, just kind of continued that rally. And so then they thought, okay, well now we're up in fib levels. The golden pocket 61.8. And so now it definitely has to go down. And so then they got that initial pushback of what was that, 18% or something, not it was negligible for Bitcoin, right? And then it continued up. And here we are now, again, pushing 52 and a half, almost 53. And here's the thing.
If it would be helpful for you to share the screen, because I know you really, and I think the audience would love to see the stuff you do with the charts. So I've given you kind of control.
Okay.
But use it or don't use it. It's cool with me either way. But
yeah, I mean, I can pull it up here real quick. Let me see here.
You're such a good teacher, man.
I appreciate that. Can you see that up there now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the big picture, and, this is what we refer to as accumulation here. This was a terminal shakeout. And so as we got to this June.
This is a 1 week chart, right, Chris? This is a
Yeah.
chart you would look at for a long period of time, not a daily chart.
Correct. Each one of these candles are just a week here.
Got it.
And so, I was talking already over here in June of 2023 that we were going to start, looks like we were starting accumulation. We had the pullback we were looking for. By the time we were right about here, so this drop is that FTX thing, when FTX blew up there in November. But we were making these lower highs and lower lows. I said, it looks like we're going to get a dip down below here. It'll be a Springer or terminal shakeout, some Wyckoff terminology we use. And I said, but that's going to be it. And I said, most likely we're going to continue up here. And so, that's what happened. We got our, our sideways range here and then pop back up in the range and then up. And so we've done this thing, right? And so here was the big thing. We got to this point over here in April of last year where we went sideways for about 7 months. Now I was expecting one pullback and breakout higher. We got two, it's fine. But other than that, I mean, we kind of did, through my timeline, I was posting a lot of stuff saying, look at this is what we're looking at. Here's where we're going to go. We're hitting it. We're doing the targets. We did this. And what happened was we got to this breakout here and everybody and their grandmother at this point was looking for further down. And so when we got the breakout here, people weren't positioned. And so what ends up happening then is, it pops up and they think, oh, we have to come back and retest.
Well, hey, when you say they weren't positioned, tell people what you really mean by that.
So they were waiting. They were waiting this whole time here. They were waiting for it to drop down 22,000, 16,000, whatever. You had multiple targets going on there. And instead it went up. So as it starts going up here, they're thinking, okay, it's going to break down. It's going to break down. It's going to break down. It gets up here and then it pops out. And then they're like, oh crap, I'm on the wrong side of this. I hope to God it pulls back. And so that's where the emotions take over and they start kicking themselves and they start waiting and they're waiting for it to pull back. And that was, I believe I was on Crypto Town Hall when we did this. And I said, no, I said, this was 7 months long here. I doubt we get the pullback. We'll probably just accumulate as we're rising, which is what we did right here. I said, and we'll continue on. And that's what's happened. And then, again, so it gets up here and people are left out. People are scared to get in because now it's all emotional. It's all, oh crap, I've missed it. They got the big accounts out there saying, oh, well, it's going to go down. It's going to go down. It's going to go down. And instead it just keeps going up. So,
well, and it's run 300%, right? In that same time period. So it's, I mean, there's some reasonable, whoa, this thing's really moving. I mean, when was the last time this Bitcoin moved like this? And I go back to, while you're pulling that up, I go back to I just want to remind everyone, he is more comfortable buying at 52,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, at 52 to 55,000 than he was at $1,000. Okay. He knew so little about this market in 2016. There was no SEC. There's no commodities. There's no FTX is already in prison. Binance has been, pretty much raped and pillaged. They became the custodian share of all information, them in Coinbase. I mean, things have changed massively today because I interview a lot of guys like $7 Bitcoin, 35-cent Ethereum. They all say the same thing, dude.
Yeah.
They would never have risked their entire life, but they would today. At 52, they're like, whoa, we know more today than we ever knew.
Yeah. You know, like I said, when I first heard about it, was 2010. I thought, man, yeah, this is great. I'm going to get in here and mine it. Life got in the way. Next thing I know, I'm in my second year of law school, 2017. And I just kind of fall into the rabbit hole on Twitter with crypto. And I was already trading, Forex at the time and equities and all that. And so I jumped in there. And at the time, I was still of the mindset, listen, I'm a trader, I'm an investor. I would love for this to work out, but, we'll see what happens. I'll make some money along the way, but we're going to keep some investment here just in case. And so here we are, fast forward 7 years later. I've been involved in this space. I've seen the things that have gone on. I've seen it happen. And I'm seeing now, now we start looking at the institutional stuff. And all of a sudden, it becomes real.
Yeah.
It becomes real, and it becomes real fast. We're looking at ETF inflows right now that continue to increase. You were talking about people weren't really expected. No, they weren't. They were thinking, oh, it's just going to be falling off. And here we go. It continues to move. It continues to that inflows. And we already know that most advisors out there aren't even really pushing it for their people. What happens when they finally make it available and people seeing the rally and the price increases going on? I mean, what happens when MicroStrategy gets into the S&P 500, if that happens, right? I mean, all of a sudden everybody's exposed to Bitcoin, right?
Or Coinbase, dude.
Yeah. So I mean,
Coinbase could easily get into that thing, right?
yeah. And all of a sudden everybody's got exposure. And all of a sudden it becomes from this fringe thing to this crazy thing that, oh man, I wish I had known about that back then. But every cycle, we get these big moves up. These are these third waves within the rallies there usually, or a smaller degree third wave here, and they come up. But what's interesting about what we're doing right now is we're doing a lot of sideways along the way. So what happens is when you're doing the sideways, people are looking for these big pullbacks, but you're spending more time going sideways. So the energy that would be created to push down to a greater extent, like you might see something like here, this was a flash event, but even right here, or, right in this area, or something like this, these quicker pushes down, that energy is expended sideways. And what that means is
it looks more like stairs, right? Like you've
Yeah.
got a big foundation there that you can't, it's not just going straight up that could get knocked down quite easily. This looks quite foundational.
Exactly. And, for me personally, here's my thing. If you take everything else off here, tell you something here real quick that might help a lot of people. So these are the yearly pivots that are showing up on the weekly time frame here, okay? We moved in sideways between the pivot and the R1 pivot, the first resistance pivot. This starts off as potentially a very aggressive move. If we get some impulsive breakout here toward that R2 pivot, the odds are most likely that we're going to run at least through the R5. I mean, there's very little doubt that we'll do that if we can get some impulsive movement here, which is interesting because as we can see here, we've got this channel off that bear market low there, and we're trying to break out now. And most of the time in Elliott wave, which is how we kind of count these advances and these pullbacks, when you break out of that initial channel, that's your third wave. So now my original count says we got like a 1-2 and then an interior 1-2 here. This is my alternate count. And if this alternate count plays out, the breakout through this R1 pivot, this ascending channel resistance, we should be minimally looking for wave 3 to get up here around 77, 78,000. And that's without overextending. But with Bitcoin, you get this, you get a lot of overextension. And so we could even see wave 3 popping up here around 100,000 or more. And that just kind of keeps pushing wave 5 higher and higher. There's a lot of argument about what this final target is. If we just do it based on the height of this is wave 4 here. If we just do it based on the height of that, and we kind of get this, let me just get a quick draw here real quick. Let's see, right about there.
The theory here is that it should repeat the same type of wave.
Well, what happens is usually you get a wave 5 initial target based on the height of wave 4. It's the 1618 extension. And you can't really see it on here because I've got it in black. And oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. So about 174,000. That would be what I would initially expect, at least. But Bitcoin has a habit of really having these blow off tops. And this could overextend potentially even 300,000 here. That's the 200%. So, or even more potentially. So I think,
and what kind of time period?
That was a little bit harder there, right? So if we look at cycles, based on Bitcoin cycles, usually that's going to be Q4, November, December of 2025, I believe, is usually where we'd kind of look at that to hit the top of the cycle. But again, with this ETF stuff coming in, and we are just
little weird, huh?
Things are getting different. Like I said, even the structure here, it's a lot more step up, step up, step up, rather than, a much stronger kind of move up. It could be setting up for a hell of a move here, to move up, and then you get to pull back and you to put up. And,
I mean,
at
Chris,
that point,
can you imagine what would have happened back in, sorry to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
Back in 2019, can you imagine what would have happened to that curve if you had this type of money flowing into the market? Because we have to admit, this has been a little chump money, really.
Oh, yeah.
It's not big money, guys. It's just not.
No, we were just barely getting started. And I mean, that's kind of crazy to see when you say, well, we got like $5-6 billion of inflows or something like that already between just a couple of them there. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of potential to get this secondary, this alternate account in here where we're really looking. And man, oh man, I'm going to tell you, Gary, if we get something like that, so many people are going to be left behind. They're going to be scared out of their pants when this thing takes off. If we get it, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it's there for. We've got the room to do it, and it just could potentially lead to quite a high rally by the time it's all said and done. But that wave 3 would come pretty quick, not like overnight or anything, but a few months up of just continually pushing upward, and people scared to get in because they're not getting the pullback. And then what happens right here, Gary? You get the all-time high 69,000, you break that, then people get interested. That's where retail generally gets interested. That's where they want to jump in, because now it's okay. Well, now we've broken out above. Now we've got blue sky. We're going to get in. And so, if you're getting this push up through here, and then you're getting the push through the all-time high, I mean, it can really just set things up to be kind of crazy.
You're at Fidelity or BlackRock, and you're the head analyst. You're meeting with the portfolio managers. Most people probably don't even know how this all works, but they've got a whole team of analysts, and they're building all these same exact charts, right, Chris? Because I don't think the retail players coming into this game in the next 6 months, except for the crypto bros, this is real money, dude. Like, yeah. This is wealth that there's an allocation of $2.5 million, and the family doesn't even know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whatever, we'll get it in the report, and it'll show up in a little pie chart, FBTC.
Little entry over here.
$2.5 million. Minimum is going to be 300 grand per family. Like, all the RIAs tell me, oh yeah, dude, they're not going to do a $50,000 Bitcoin acquisition. They're going to buy 3 or 4 or 5, 6 of them, 10 of them.
Yep.
And then they leave it there for 4, 5, 6, 8 years.
Yeah. Don't
give a toss about it.
And that's where things get really interesting. During this last bear cycle, I believe we had like one of the highest hold rates we've had. So, people even just holding through that big bear market from 69 down to 15, right? And that's before these are just, I mean, you've got a couple of bigger kind of players in there, but really this isn't like institutional involvement, which says, listen, I'm not going to buy and sell every 5 days. I'm going to buy, and I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to hold for a while. I'm going to hold for some years. And so, what happens then? I mean, when we look at this, the supply is limited. Okay. Now there's a little bit of, I think we have to be a little bit more honest about what's coming up. I mean, we've got halving coming up, which means future supply is going to be cut in half. It doesn't do anything to the supply that's currently sitting there. But if we look at how much of this current supply is sitting there, we look at exchanges holding all-time lows. Everybody's kind of pulling off. Everybody's self-custody, and then you get the bigger players getting in there and they're like, okay, well, I want to buy this. They're not going to sit there and hold on the exchange. They're going to get basically Coinbase is the big winner out of these ETFs, right? And so you get all this being held off there at the same time that attention is coming to it. So you're increasing demand, potential demand, while limiting and decreasing that potential supply that's available for them to get.
Yep.
And so price necessarily, I mean, it's simple supply and demand at that point, in which that price you would think is just going to, go up for a bit at least, because
the confluence of these events is not going to happen again and again and again. It's happening right now.
Right now, yeah.
Right. It's like it's being impregnated with new money. And I think you have to look at it that way. I mean, that old money is going to get pushed aside, dude. These people don't care if they buy it at 75,000. Right? They do not care. I mean, if $150 billion walks into this market, you need 3 million Bitcoin at $50,000.
Yeah.
And I think that's the flow you're going to see here. I think you're going to see, I mean, all we need is $500 million for how many days? Six. We need six, dude. Exactly
that's the reality. That is the thing I think most people are missing, but it's because most people are retail, and retail's emotional, right? It's hard to get out there and take that chance, right? There's a reason why most people are employees rather than entrepreneurs and starting things out, because it takes a different type of person. You have to be willing to take on that risk. You have to deal with that emotion. And for most people, it's just so much easier not to do that. And that's fine for them, but it does translate into trading. I tell people all the time, the way in which you attack the world in every other aspect is the same way you're going to approach trading. And there's no two ways. Your brain doesn't say, oh, this is trading, so I'm going to do it different. You are as human beings, we are just repetitions of actions that we do until we change those actions. So if normally in your life, you're not much of a risk taker and you're kind of, you don't want to put a lot of effort into it and you're worried and stuff like that. Well, okay, that's fine. But you don't expect to get into trading and then or investing and then think you're going to be something different. And I think that's the one part that most people, when they come in, they don't understand. That's one of the big parts, and that causes them, unfortunately, to lose a lot of money, But at the end of the day, I always say this. I'm like, listen, you're adults, you're big boys, you're big girls. You're in a market where you're putting real money at risk. If you choose to enter that without understanding the risk, without understanding how to do it, before you do it, I mean, it's kind of hard to be overly, feel sorry for somebody because, you chose to jump in. If you choose to jump in and fly a plane and you don't know how to fly a plane, you got to accept whatever's going to happen, right?
Correct.
Maybe you land it, maybe, but the odds are highly against you. So
yeah, to me, the first warning is, hey, if this is too much fun for you, because I hear this in the crypto world, I'd never heard it before. Hey, man, this is a blast. We're having fun. And I'm like, you guys are having fun? This should not be that fun. Okay, it should be a 14-hour day if you're a trader. See, what I was trying to get to is you saying, hey, if you're only trading 6 hours a day, stop trading. You're going to get run over by me who's doing it 14 hours a day. This is a blood sport, full-time profession. And I've known maybe a handful of people who could do this their entire life. Like I had to leave it, man. I was like, okay, it's killing me. This business, I was swinging all that power and that gas around in England. And like, at some point you're like, dude, I'm telling you, I have $1 million, swings every day.
That could be stressful.
It's too much, man. And then you go in front of a bunch of Wall Street analysts and, you make $150 million 1 year and everybody expects you to repeat it next year. And it's not possible. Okay. Not without taking monster risk. And that's what ends up happening. And that's why I say, hey, first off, just get rid of all your debt. If you have a credit card open, dude, and you're trading, you should stop trading, handle the damn debt. Then invest in Bitcoin. Get so bloated on Bitcoin, you're so rich, you can go, I'm gonna buy 3,000 Solana and just throw it around and give it to my mom.
Yeah.
Otherwise, hire a guy like you, dude. Let you swing the weight around. Well, seriously, because you're doing it full time, man.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Again, when you come in, it's not like anything. I mean, it's unlike anything else, or it's like everything else, right? If you want to become a great football player, American football, if you want to go play professional football, you're not just going to walk on the field without ever going through, practice and whatever. It's years of practice, it's years of coaches and mentors and focus and discipline. If you want to be a world class pianist, same idea, right? For most people,
10,000 hours, man.
yeah, at least, right? At least, and it's going to do it. But people think, hey, just because I can put money into an account and I can trade it, well, I can do this right away. No, it takes focus, it takes discipline, it takes consistency, and that's once you figure out how to do it correctly. Again, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. If I was to stop doing it for a few years, I mean, that's gonna knock me down. There's just
Mm.
no way. You have to continue doing it. Otherwise you lose what you've built up.
How unique do you find crypto digital asset world relative to the other markets you've traded?
As far as general markets go and whatnot, I mean, I use the same tools, the same strategies. Nothing changes there. The only thing, and I've said this for years now with crypto, is that it is newer, so it's smaller. So you have more concentrated money coming in at times. So you can get these overextensions and these big blow off tops more consistently. Um, Other than that, I think maybe just the degen attitudes. I often said at first that when I came in, this was the closest thing you had to the forex market, because the forex market can get in, you can lever up like ridiculous and
Yeah, I
and
didn't realize when you said you traded FX, I'm like, oh, this was
yeah.
such a natural play for him.
Yeah, but it's the same
Very nice.
people. I see the same things coming in, right? And it's the same type of person. It was the same type of person I was when I first started. I thought, man, I don't want to work for somebody, so I got to figure out what to do. I can learn to trade. Hey, everybody else is doing it, looks like it's easy. Lost money for years to begin with. I had to get serious one day and finally say, listen, either I need to learn and figure out what the hell I'm doing, or I just need to get out because I can't keep, bleeding like this for 4 years. It was stupid. But it's that same type of attitude that comes in, and you see it a lot in forex with retail, and you see it a lot because of all the just the common leverage. It's so easy to get levered up in there, and then you get to Bitcoin and crypto, and again, but with this, what's worse is the exchanges. For most of the time I've been in here, haven't been all that great. When you start getting a lot of
Yeah.
push, all of a sudden they go down.
Yeah.
You don't have one cancels the other orders for most of them. The exchanges are very much like Fred Flintstone age compared to what you have outside of crypto, and that's been a big kind of point of contentment for me as far as being just a professional trader and trying to trade these markets.
Yeah, the big boys won't be okay with that if the markets go down.
Yeah.
Can you pull that chart back up? Because you said something I think people really need to consider without getting FOMOing the heck out of people. You and I and a couple of other older guys, Fred Krueger, I had a call with him last night. A couple of, people that are been in Wall Street for a long time. The comment you made was, hey, look, I'm scared that a bunch of people are going to get left behind because this move's gone from 17.5 pre-jail time for the dogs that were put down. Then it went back to 27.5. Like I started picking it up after it pulled off the 16.5. As soon as what's his name went to, hey, we're going to prosecute you. I'm like, oh wow, they're cleaning up the party.
Yeah.
I agree with you, dude. I think that there are going to be a lot of people that want to buy this thing at 35 and they're going to miss, and they're going to be looking at it at 100 or 80, and they're going to still, no, I can't do it. And like 2 years from now, going to be looking at 200 and they're going to go, oh my God, I'm priced out.
Yeah.
I can never get back in.
That's the reality. That I mean, and I think right now, with the ETFs, because it is this stamp of approval almost for TradFi guys, for normies, as people call them, right out there to come in and put money into Bitcoin without having to figure out how to use a wallet or whatever, or to be able to get it into easily into their retirement accounts or whatever they're doing. And I mean, that honestly, we can't guarantee, but man, I'll tell you what, I would rather be prepared for that than saying, oh, it's probably not going to happen and have that taken off. Because like you said, man, once you're hitting 100,000, you're hitting 200,000, retail looks at that and they go, well, hell, what am I going to do here? I
I
don't have
mean,
the kind
that's
of,
only $1.8 trillion. It's not a monster market.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Saudi Aramco, Saudi Aramco is worth $7 trillion, man. So you're now, if you were to flip, and this is more for the audience, and you're probably going to laugh at me, but if we were to flip that chart over and the yellow thing is going down,
Mhm.
see, I see this as a waterfall. And what I'm seeing is Bitcoin is getting so much gravity and traction on that waterfall that you have so much money coming in. It's just once that waterfall starts flowing, dude, it never stops flowing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just think
Yeah.
that we have an innovation event here, a science experiment that is literally going live with real money. And it just seems that you're going to see more and more people have, I mean, $500 million went into Bitcoin in the last week, and it's already up 15%, dude. Like, they're going to look at their books. And I think actually BlackRock knew they needed to launch this thing ASAP.
Yeah.
They didn't want to launch this in a year and a half, man. I mean, this is the fastest launch live, let's rock and roll, start buying Bitcoin launch of any ETF ever. They've never
Yeah. It
just
was like, what, a day or two. It was there.
days. And I think that was by design. The Wall Street guys probably like, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to make sure our guys get in with a big win. That's what I would have done. I would have sat down with all the fun guys without any collusion and said, we do want to do this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of stuff happens. I mean, it happens
Oh,
it happens through
totally.
Wall Street all the time. If nobody believes it, all they have to do is watch, I don't even know, one of those shows about 2008 and the great financial collapse and how they decided to sacrifice who? What bank did they decide to sacrifice? I mean, everybody else makes it out of it. That one's got to go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
just watch the series Billionaire. That'll get you billions or whatever.
billions. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it is what it is. But I think a lot of people, they get in here, retail is, they spend more time worried about crypto whales or about Wall Street manipulating them. And really, at the end of the day, your biggest challenge, your biggest enemy, the thing that you have the most trouble with and that causes you the most pain and hurts you the most is your own emotion. I always say that trading is simple. It's just movements of liquidity. That's all it is. Supply and demand. But it's not easy. And it's not easy because we have to fight all these normal feelings that we have as human beings, these things that make us human beings, these feelings, these emotions. We have to fight all that in order to be successful as traders. And, even for those that understand that, still most are not able to figure out how to do that. Because again, the emotions, the feelings, the things we have, these are what make us human to begin with. Without them, we wouldn't be what we are. And so, I think people need to spend not so much time worrying about, oh, Wall Street's going to manipulate them or crypto well's going to dump on them, and spend more time going, okay, how do I learn to understand what's going on with them by reading the chart and then get in there and trade in with it? Because at the end of the day, like we talked about earlier, you've got to step up. You've got to have the ability to take risk. You can't get anywhere unless you're taking that risk. If you're always safe and secure and whatever, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get any further. You're never going to do anything. And on all these dreams and goals you have are just dreams. There's no action in them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I heard a guy say the other night, he said, hey, look, if you got to go buy a car, you go buy a car.
Yeah.
If this is the size of an automobile, if you need to buy a Bitcoin, figure out what you need to do to buy a Bitcoin.
Perfect. That's right. Figure out
Oh
what you
no, I
gotta
think
do.
it's like, look,
Yep.
I got plenty of jobs in my backyard, dude. I can put people to work tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Like, I do think there are a lot of people that won't be able to buy Bitcoin at 50 grand,
Mhm.
but I think there's an awful lot of people that are not taking this opportunity very serious, thinking they're going to have a window to do it. Good for me. Like, everybody keeps saying, hey, why don't your brother buy more? I'm like, bro, I don't need to educate my brother. We do not need Grant buying 1,000 coins right now. He can fucking get rich however he wants to get rich. He does not need to front run me. I don't need to educate these people.
Yeah.
What goes wrong on this chart, Chris? Like what breaks down? How could you be too low? I mean, have you ever seen this particular modeling just break down completely where Bitcoin has its own life and it doesn't care a bit about a Fibonacci retracement?
Um, Not so much. So we have targets based on fib levels that generally price tends to get to for that specific wave. So again, like we have the 1618 for wave 3, right? So if we were to again pull this in here, let's say we did this here, and I'll make that white there so you can see it. And so you get that 1618, right? But that does not have to stop there. So if it continues on, we look at the 200%, which is around 100,000. We look at the 2618, which is 153.8. You look at the 3618, you look at the 4618. These are generally expected targets over extensions for wave 3. So when we think about Fibonacci and what happens on these charts, it's just basically showing us this movement of emotion, right? Because people buy and sell on emotion, whether it's stocks or crypto or they're at the grocery store and they're buying those things right there at the register, that are put right there for your impulse
Right.
buying, right? We always buy on emotion. We don't buy logically. And so the way in which I've learned to look at it is through these emotions. So again, we can say, okay, minimal expected up here around 77,000, right, for wave 3. But if we keep on popping through there, we're going to look at 2.618. If this thing just kept on rocking and rolling, absolutely weird, but fantastic. I mean, 3618 gets you at 308,500. 4618 gets you 619,000. And we have had extensions like that. Markets do occasionally just go rip roaring crazy wild. And then we just kind of, the subdivision of waves as it leads to that, we just kind of go in there and figure, okay, is it going to be there? Is it going to maybe go up to the next one? And even these aren't, it doesn't have to get to these, but these give us great targets along the way that we can look for if it does. Nothing I'm saying here says this has to happen. Nothing I'm saying here said this is going to happen, but the way in which we use Elliott wave and, we use Wyckoff, we use these things is saying, okay, well, here's where we're looking at least. But here's the secondary thought. We've always got more ideas coming out just in case. And that way we're not stuck flat-footed. We're not selling at 1618 just because that's where it is. And it keeps on popping up higher.
Now, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. Let's say this narrative plays out for you. What do you do? Like, how do you start? Well, two things. One, do you have a short-term book that you manage separately for your own position and a long-term book? I think that's very helpful to know because most people just commingle it all and then it becomes a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Total clusterfuck. You need you need an account called Pure Gambling Degenerate. I'm probably going to lose all this money account. And then the other one is, hey, this is for my children and legacy.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? Like when you see this thing scaling up like this, are you selling? Are you buying more? Or?
Yeah, no, for me, yeah, definitely. I've got the two. And like they said, that's what I, say everybody should be doing, especially if you're in crypto. I mean, I was always that way in equities anyway. But in crypto, you definitely need, there's no reason you shouldn't be doing that, especially with getting in so early over the last few years, or even right now as the ETFs are just coming in. And this is just US ETFs, this isn't even, ETFs anywhere else in the world. Right. And so, yeah, I think you have to have the Bitcoin you buy and you continue to buy along the way and you don't freaking touch it. You don't touch it.
So you're still DCA and you're on a schedule and you don't change the schedule.
That is the best way to do it. Exactly. And then if you're going to be trading, that absolutely has to be in another account and you cannot change. You can't go, oh, well, I blew all my trading money here, so I need to go grab into my other one. No, don't do that. That is your fail safe. That's there to protect you from you, because you're going to come in, especially if you're not an experienced trader, and you're going to lose a lot of money until you get it figured out, if you ever get it figured out, right? You cannot go there and just go grab in, or like you said, commingle. Lord have mercy. If you keep it all together, it's all trading money. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no separate investing money if you keep it all in the same account.
And you're going to get raped by the tax man.
Oh, man.
If you commingle it.
US. Oh, God.
If you commingle digital, you're going to get raped by the tax man. The audit fees, the fees of what you'll have to hire a professional will probably be more than the entire profitability of the account.
Yeah. That real talk. Yeah.
So you're DCAing this whole time, even though you bought $1,000 Bitcoin back in the day. You're not sitting there going, "Wow, I should have bought more $1,000 Bitcoins."
Well, of course I think that, but
But it doesn't
yeah,
hold you off from making a decision.
yeah, no, it's always, if it's a good point in which to buy, you buy, right? It's not like you just blindly DCA. Now you can, you can say, okay, well, every week I'm going to buy so much, or every month I'm going to buy so much. You can do that. I do it a little bit differently, but because I'm, more experienced, I understand charts and whatnot. So I buy at more significant levels. But yeah, so for me, like,
You'll weight it when the price is under fair market value. You'll overweight your purchase, and as this thing goes up that yellow curve, you'll start maybe, okay, I'm only going to do 50% of the DCA at 60 grand.
yeah, exactly. Down here, I'm adding over here in June of 2023. I'm adding over here in September, or I'm sorry, 2022. I'm hitting here in September 2022. I'm doing down here in November of 22. And and again over here around March of 23, March, May area, March, April area here. Again,
Yeah.
as we get to these pullbacks, and that's what I'm doing. And like you said, as it becomes closer to that fair value or greater than fair value, I'm going to pull back a bit, but I'm going to go heavier when it's definitely undervalued, when we're getting to these levels that we generally look to get to with the way that I trade.
Yeah. Yeah. You do this full time, right? You don't have a day job. You're not a plumber or anything, right?
That's my day job. This, and of course, teaching people, helping them understand how and why markets actually move the way they do, and how to actually use these tools that I use, Elliott Wave, Wyckoff, how to use them together, how they all kind of come together to explain that emotion that's driving price movement. So yeah. I mean, that's
So,
it.
so if people are looking for an education on how to do that, where do they contact you, reach out to you?
Easiest thing to do is go to members.texaswestcapital.com. And, we've got a year-long access for a group coaching program where we teach you how to do Elliott Wave, how to do Wyckoff, how to do price action correctly. And then each week we get live streams. We go in there, we explain to you, this is how it actually works. Because the one thing that I always noticed as I was learning was, and it's the way it is for a lot of things, is you can learn the theory behind it.
Yeah.
But when you actually go to apply it, that's the difficult thing. And it becomes really difficult with charts because they rarely look anything like those perfect charts that we use to teach with. As we try to try to get students to understand concepts and functions and whatnot. So, we do that every week, 52 weeks out of the year, unless there's a holiday or something, but we do it three times a week and kind of apply it to live charts. With that.
Yeah, and then is this all you track and trace? I mean, you focused 100% on digital, or will you look at an NVIDIA, IBM, some other commodities?
Oh yeah, man. No, we do it all. We do Forex, we do futures, we do metals, we do equities, energy. We do, of course, digital here.
What do you think about energy, man? What do you think about nat gas at $1.67?
Man, nat gas. I'm watching right now. I was looking at this morning. I'm like, man, I don't know. Are we going to get a bottom here? It's pretty close to breaking down a bit more.
This is it. This is it right here, dude. If you could buy this long term, I mean,
look, we just came from almost $10.
Yeah, listen, I came from this industry, my $7.63 in 1982, escalated on CPI, going up forever and ever, and now it's $1.67. People told us that they could not invest in the energy infrastructure on a 30-day market. Dude, we have 111 billion cubic feet a day of nat gas. When I started, it was 11. And it's done it on a 30-minute power market and a daily 30-day nat gas market. Works perfectly, shows you what capitalism really allows you to do.
Yeah.
Like, it works, man. $1.67, dude.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And they're paying $8 in Europe for it. $8.
Yep.
Where's all in nat gas going, man?
Again, I'm looking right now, nat gas. We're at a for me, this is a make or break level we're at, this dollar kind of $50, $60 level. If we can get a good impulsive rally out of here, I think we may start with our ascent once more. But if we're breaking down here, we might see this thing dipping back down to, $1.30, $1.10. But it should find, I mean, it should be closer than not to finding a bottom. It's just, do we find it right here where we're at, or is it going to dip that bit further, as far as nat gas goes? So,
I mean, see, the weird thing for nat gas in the US is that would be awesome, dude. A dollar gets into Lake Charles at $1.50.
yeah,
Travels across to Japan for $3, $3.50. We're at $4 or $5, and they're paying $9 to $11 in Japan.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome for America. Like, there's not a lot of downside here that I see. Crude oil, international crude oil, everybody's talking about $90, $80. I don't get it, man. I mean, do you think we're going to ever see $120 crude oil for sustained periods?
I've been looking for this idea that it was going to pop out higher. But it's been pretty weak here for the last few months, most especially. Right now, I'm looking for it to rally up a bit. And if we can get that, I think that sends in some potential longer term rally through it. But right now, at the moment, it's kind of like that nat gas. It's kind of like at this goofy kind of area right now where it's, do we make it and continue to do this rally thing, or do we just break down? And
yeah, I'll sell you some transaction fees. We can just do a fiat bet, but I'm bearish on oil. I think, look, we took off 1,000,007 barrels last summer, and the price went down, dude.
Yeah.
That tells me China is so dysfunctional.
Oh yeah.
That just completely screwed up, and we can't get any transparent numbers, right? But if we thought they were 15% off in consumption, that would explain crude oil right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And China just has a whole bunch of issues, and it's nothing unexpected. I mean, if you looked at them prior to the 1980s, and then since the 1980s, when they started letting a little bit of this capitalism idea come in, and all of a sudden they shot up, and then they just started, building all these, ghost towns and ghost cities and whatnot. And they just overproduced, right? They overproduced all these things that did not need it. It was a misallocation of assets, a misallocation of money, of resources. And so, you kind of hit that up there, and Evergrande and everything else, right? I mean, it's all these things happening. And so now they going through this kind of deflationary period. But when you have that, it only lasts so long.
Yeah.
Then it comes back in. And so for right now, though, yeah, I mean, there's just not the demand for oil that everybody was kind of everybody's been looking at. And, and the U.S. is ramping up oil, Baker Hughes, rig counts there, popping up a bit, more so recently than it's been. And man, and when you've got, and the thing is, when you get oil up there to $100, all that wildcatting starts kicking in, all these friends of mine who have their own little small companies, they just go start just dropping, wells, trying to find oil because, it's feasible to do so.
Dude, the water pressure companies make money, right?
Oh man. Yeah.
They just pump cement down into the freaking earth, and just to be able to do a net present value sale at $100 instead of waiting for 70 in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Exactly. We had this great, during the, the 2010 to 2007, 2020, we had this great explosion, which, sent oil, US becomes, up there in the top producer in the world, because we had all this easy money, right? We had all this money flowing from these private equity and hedge funds and whatnot going into, because it's expensive to drill sideways, right? We do horizontal drilling, and that's where we can pull a lot of oil out, but it is expensive. And so, but we had the money there, the money was pouring in, so we were able to pump it out, and here we go up there, right? And then of course we kind of hit, the pandemic and all that, and everything shuts down, and oil, WTI contracts, for that what was that, May of 20, whatever it was, the pandemic there, dropping down. I mean, never in my life hit like -42.
Yeah.
Paying them 42. And I said at the time, I said, man, and I did this so public, I said, what's going to happen is a few enterprising people are going to find some oil rigs to hold the oil transport ships. And they're going to take as much oil as they can because Cushing was full. 80
Yeah.
somewhat percent of the world was full at that time. I said, they're going to find a way to do it. They're going to transport it from Cushing, whatever, over to the ship. And they're going to hold it out there for a year and they're going to make a freaking killing when they come back. They're getting paid to take it off. What they're getting paid is going to pay for all that. They come back, it's pure profit. And man, it just is, as somebody who's been in the markets for years, but it's just these last few years with Bitcoin, with oil, with even with the meme stocks, it's just been so crazy seeing things that haven't really ever seen.
When you say that, it would seem to me like the characteristics of Bitcoin are perfectly situated and suited for this bizarre, almost acid trip type world we live in right now, right? Like it's the only stable thing that, because it is a weird market, man, all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And I mean, it's hard to explain to somebody that hasn't been in the markets for a decade or more, the difference of what it's been the last few years compared to, equities and whatnot, compared to, for instance, than what it's been. And it's just so significantly different. It just, I struggle sometimes to kind of, if I have to sit there and think about to really comprehend what's going on there. And so, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin comes in and if you do it right, like we've been talking about, this whole time here, if you do it right, you really stand, I believe you really stand to come out so far ahead. I had said back in 2017, early 2017, when I first came in, and then again at the 2019 bear market low, I said, man, I said in my, decades of trading, I've never seen anything come close to the possibility of what we're seeing with Bitcoin. And I said, to me, this is like a once in a generation time opportunity to leapfrog your way out of the situation you're in, no matter what your situation is, to be able, if you do it correctly, to leapfrog your way up and out and into potentially some really, real wealth, which so many people struggle with these days. $200,000 a year, people living, paycheck to paycheck. It's crazy.
Chris, I think he wants you to stop the screen sharing. I would have thought I could have done that, but yeah, I agree, man. It is crazy. I don't know how a lot of families make the transition. I think that's the thing you're probably more concerned about.
Yeah.
People not being in the know about any of this. And I think that is one of the good things about the ETF is that you're going to educate. Brochures are showing up this weekend at a very wealthy family near you, and it's probably coming from 5 different companies. And these are slick marketing materials. That class of player hasn't even entered this game yet.
Nope. No, we are just, it's again, unless you really understand wealth, not just in the US, but throughout the world. And you really, I mean, not just, oh yeah, there's so many millionaires, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you really understand wealth and how it works and how the mindset generally is so much like 180 degrees different from the retail mindset.
Correct.
If you're retail and you're trying to comprehend it, it's difficult. You think you understand, but you really don't. You really don't. And the exponentiality of the result of that is so huge, right? So, you think but you don't. And because you really don't, what you see actually end up happening is exponentially greater than what you can imagine realistically. It really is.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom, right? Especially when you've seen a big run. So on that point, and I'm not asking you to drill down in the timing, but over the next 18 months, where do you see the low high end of this thing? I mean, how stupid could it get? And do you think it's going to scare people into bad behavior?
Oh, you know what? I won't even begin to guess at how scary it could get, how real it could get. There is so much happening at the moment. And, I generally trade based on charts, right? My charts are my understanding of what's going on with social mood, with emotion and what's going on there. But that has helped me throughout the years understand how people generally tend to act and react. And so for me, even though I trade the charts, just seeing these ETFs and seeing the inflows just continue to accelerate. Everybody's like, oh, GBTC coming in, they're going to dump it on. And now everybody's talking about, 1.6 billion from what's it called? They're going to sell back in. The courts okayed it. And everybody's been talking years about Mount Gox creditors finally getting it back. But look at what we've done just over the last few weeks with all that outflow just from GBTC. Oh no. And the miners have been selling heavily right into that ETF news and whatnot. And what we did, we had 18% pullback, and now we're up above that just a few weeks. I mean, it's crazy when you consider that. And like you've been saying, it's barely getting into the people that really have the money. They haven't even gotten.
Do you think the industry actually, I sense a disbelief from the industry. Like even the most fervent believers, like, whoa, what's happening? Do you get the same sense?
Yeah, because most people that are, that are in the industry, they think about cycles and they think about, okay, well, Bitcoin's always done this or generally done that. But that doesn't mean it has to repeat again. Bitcoin's got a very.
I would say it's near impossible to repeat again because you're introducing some serious new variables.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You've only got a few cycles to look at, and so Bitcoin's generally done about the same thing, more or less, right? But now we've got, like you said, now it's like we went from the small little water hose to the big, the big water sewer treatment pump, funnel kind of thing going in potentially, right? With this opened up there. And the reality is most people still don't know about Bitcoin. And a lot of those that do still are not sure they want to get into it yet. But as this thing continues to go, as they keep hearing, especially those with the money, keep hearing from their financial advisor, hey, listen, you should probably allocate 1%, maybe 3%, maybe 5%. Listen, man, you got 100 million, throw 5 million in there. And you start doing that by 500, 1,000, 5,000 people, those flows start increasing and those prices go up and they're seeing returns and they're seeing value in it. And I know we want to talk about tech and how this is so great and whatever, but at the end of the day, people are emotional. Price goes up, people get excited, they buy in. And I think it has that potential to create a landslide of money coming in, as we look at it, which is why I'm like, minimum, I'm thinking maybe, based on the height of, like I said, based on the height of the last correction, 174,000. I'll go and say, okay, minimum, that's what I think we probably get, minimum. But what do we get beyond that? I've seen really good reasons why we could hit 250, 300, 600,000. Do we hit a billion or a million? Kathy Woods is all about that. Maybe in another cycle. I don't think we hit that in this cycle. Would I be upset if we did? Not at all. Not at all.
That'd be $21 trillion market.
Yeah, it would be crazy. Yeah.
$16 trillion.
But what are people
twice the size of Aramco?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about oil.
Half a gold.
Talk about gold. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you talk about gold. People right now are seeing gold. They're going, well, everybody's arguing, paper gold, futures, all this kind of stuff. It's all, being held down and blah, 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 whatever. And they see this opportunity. I mean, God.
Good. Then it'll fall and they'll move. If it's being held down, they'll move gold to, I think you're going to see gold go down, Bitcoin go up. And people aren't going to just sell their jewelry, okay, unless it really goes crazy. Half of that's jewelry, I think, right? So $6 trillion. Bitcoin doesn't have to do a lot to get to 3 trillion. And gold, do a little Peter Schiff irony thing, gold could go down to 2,200.
Well, I mean, it's hard, even if you're Peter Schiff, and maybe not Peter Schiff, but if you're somebody that's been so invested in gold for decades and you're sitting here, you go, okay, 2011, we're shy of $2,000. 2024, we're finally just above $2,000. And in that time, Bitcoin's gone up how much? I mean, it's really, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin starts getting, basically the nod of approval, right? It's like, hey, go ahead and bring your real money into it, guys. Go ahead and bring that real wealth into it through ETFs. And all of a sudden it's like, well, damn, well, I've missed out on this already. I've been holding gold, hoping, that it protects me, but geez. But the reality of it is, if you look historically, gold is not really a store of value. It isn't. It's this narrative that's been pushed out there, but it's not really.
It's a war tool. It's an old tool now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
who did I speak to just the other day? A buddy of mine was I think I said, hey, you buying Bitcoin? He said, no, I bought a little gold. I said, would you like to buy 27,300 ounces of silver? And like, I've had all this gold and silver. I'm like, this is a pain in the ass to move.
Yeah.
I bought it for the right reason for my family, for protection.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin wasn't really around.
Right.
Now that I can do Bitcoin, I understand its ability to transact, its portability within seconds. It's the most liquid asset in the world. I'm like, well, like, I don't need this now. I might need a few bags, but that's what I think we're going to see. We're going to see gold start to contract because your sons and daughters aren't buying gold, dude.
Oh yeah, no, they won't be. No, not at all. Just the same reason they're going to buy cars
or U.S. dollars. They're not going to care about U.S. dollars either, right? So this is fascinating, man. I meant to ask you two things. So, we'll just do a speed round. You have $1 million. The investment thesis is for 2 years. You're not going to touch it. The Mag 7, uranium, which we didn't talk about on all, Bitcoin. Woo, man.
Hesitation.
All over the place, right? Like not even close.
There's possibilities there, but man, I got to go with Bitcoin. What happens after 2 years? Well, worst case scenario,
Bitcoin, Nvidia,
but then it goes up after. I just think the overall Bitcoin narrative is it continues to go up overall, and I think everything else that's going on, whether you're looking politically or monetarily or governmental wise, all this stuff. I mean, I think it just gives you more and more reason why you should hold some Bitcoin. And if I had to choose, for me personally, even though I do them all, even though I trade them all without even thinking, it's Bitcoin for me.
I love that answer. Okay, here's another speed question. You got a minute or two?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me make sure I do this one right. Donald Trump, Michelle Obama, Robert Kennedy.
Oh, man. I'll be honest with you.
Please be.
I hate politics. But I've been itching to see Trump win, and here's why. Because government itself has become, it's always corrupt, right? Power.
No, I was just asking who you'd bet on winning.
Oh, who do I bet on winning?
You don't even have to get political with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I don't think Michelle Obama, no. I don't think they let Kennedy's got a great legacy. I don't think they let him in, though. I think he's dangerous because of that. So out of those three, I'd have to say Trump would probably have the best possibility to get in. And here's the thing. There's been so much against him that he keeps coming out of that the regular person, for good or wise or otherwise, they're going to be like, yeah, we hate government. Government's screwing us over anyway. Look, they're trying to screw him and he's coming out ahead. Hell yeah. Let's get him in there. Let's have him screw up the government and whatever. I mean, I don't see a bad narrative for just the average person when it comes to Trump. I think he helps them hate the government more. He helps them, kind of give a big middle finger to the government, if anything at all, at least.
No. So here's another speed question. Who's doing the best job running their organism? Is it Putin? Is it the Chancellor of Germany or the current administration of the United States?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't think it's the U.S. here. And I'm living in Texas, so I'm dealing with border stuff. But
yeah,
Germany.
If you were a Russian citizen, would you be embarrassed by Putin's performance over the last 3 or 4 years? Because quite frankly, I look at it and go, wow, his ruble's up, his economy's strong as shit. He's longer resources than I think anybody in the world, that he really totally controls the full vertically integrated posture of their energy resources. They have food. They have people that have been fighting for centuries. And the guy can actually make sentences and
Yeah.
complete them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, if we're looking at outside looking in, I think it probably seems that he's doing better than the most. I think, God, when I look at the US and just the nonsense and just the way that things are being handled. And it doesn't have to do with being a Republican or Democrat. Otherwise, to me, I'm just looking at it going, what the hell? I'm a human being here trying to make a living, trying to live life, trying to take care of my family. And it's becoming more and more difficult every time we look around, everywhere we look. So, yeah, I think it looks like, at least looks like Putin would probably be doing the better job. Um, but of course, that all has to do with information as well. I definitely, God, by far don't believe it's the US. I think we have a lot of trouble right now that we need to really work through.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the stuff they've been through that, they are. I was just talking to a guy in England. I'm like, you guys don't have anything. You have no energy. You have no food. You have high taxes. You belong nowhere. You're America's bitch for every practical. In Europe, your neighbor, they have 20 million people walking into their countries right now. And I have no clue how they're going to manage this, man.
Yeah, I mean,
We haven't even seen those problems yet.
yeah, I mean, I think it's perfect what you just said. You haven't even seen the problems yet. You see things happening, but with the magnitude of people that have come in, it's going to take a few years to really start seeing that showing up in what's happening with government and programs and spending and laws and all these things. And again, it's just starting. And here in the US, I mean, look what we're looking at here. We could be seeing the same thing, a few years down the road. And I don't want that for my kids.
I can actually see how our migration problem is easier to deal with than Europe's.
Oh yeah.
And that our migration issue actually could be really beneficial to us because I don't know a lot of white guys that even want to work anymore. And the women they're hanging out with, they're going on OnlyFans. So to have some Mexicans in here that have good Catholic Christian values, family values, minimally, as long as the criminals don't come with them, this could turn out okay for us, I think, because I think that particular group of people are not going to vote for the people that open the gates. They're going to look at this and go, "This is fucking insane, man! Like you can't just let everybody in."
Yeah,
See,
hopefully, that's the hope. Again, I've spent a lot of my life down here in Texas. So really ingrained, with the Mexican culture and everything,
yeah,
and Tex-Mex, and man, I love, I love the people I know. They're just absolutely great people.
yeah,
And what we offer here, even the crap that we're dealing with right now, is so much better for most of them than where they're coming from.
for
Me
sure.
again, that my big issue with coming through is so many of them are from other countries, not even from Mexico. They're from,
Right.
from uh wherever they're across the water,
Yeah, wherever.
coming in. I saw something the other day where they were talking about it's like $35,000 a person to smuggle somebody in from China, um, coming over here. And not that I'm, the big old China's going to come in and do whatever, but I'm just saying, it's big business. These cartels, a lot of them are moving out of drugs into smuggling because it is so big, and the government just makes it easy to come in. But yeah, I do agree that work ethic here in the U.S. really is kind of shut down quite a bit. I'm like you. I kind of come from that previous time period where you had to go out there and you had to do things. You weren't allowed to whine. You weren't allowed to complain. You just had to get it done.
Yeah,
Life
yeah,
sucked at times. You had to step up and do it. And I think people today are too much worried about how they're perceived or, what's going on online rather than like, how do I create a future for myself? And, you know, how do I even think about a family in the future? I'm sitting here whining about this. I'm not trying to figure out how do I get beyond it, because I'll tell you
yeah.
what, government isn't going to make it any easier.
No chance. No chance. If you're waiting for the government to solve your problem, you might as well just put yourself out of your misery because they're not showing up. They don't even have the capability to help.
No, and
Um,
they have the desire. It's not the desire there. Politics is a job now. It's a lifetime job.
yeah,
You got people like Pelosi making, they come in worth this little bit, and then, years later they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, you ain't getting there just based on what you're getting paid. You know.
I found that extremely offensive considering how much I have worked my whole life to be a productive member of society. I find it grossly offensive that
Yep.
someone like that can make that kind of money off of inside trader
Yeah.
information. And I wish I'd have known that was the game. If I would have known that was the game, I'd have just gone into politics and
A
become
lot easier.
it's I'm stunned they're not worth tens of billions of dollars. They got
Uh,
to be so stupid when you have all that inside intel and you can't even come on. Like they're just getting money for saying yes to what they know is getting ready to be said yes to.
Whatever it takes to get, to get elected again. And then you get in there and people keep electing you, even though you don't do the things you said you were going to do. And it just becomes this cycle. And then, if for the rest of us out here actually trying to, again, take care of our families, create a future for our families, to make sure that our kids and our grandkids, have some kind of future, it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Chris, this has been really a pleasure, man. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do some TA stuff with you. As now we got a lot of action. I know you were really busy, but it'd be really cool to have you come on sometime. And I know the audience is going to really dig you. So thank you so much.
Hey
Do you have
man,
anything else to
definitely.
add?
No, man, I just, like you said at the beginning there, you and me, we're here to kind of help people understand things that maybe they don't understand because they're new to markets, they don't understand wealth, whatever. It's always about helping. And um, I don't think there's anything wrong with trading, but I think that, again, if you're going to do it, you need to learn how to do it proper. That's all I can say. I lost a ridiculous amount of money the first 4 years I was doing it. I had to make the choice to actually learn what I had to learn to do what I needed to do. And so if you're a new trader out there and you think you're going to trade your $100 to $1,000,000 overnight, you're not. Step back, take a deep breath, learn what you need to learn first, use longer time frames because they're more forgiving. Um, and I keep saying it, buy some Bitcoin, a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever you can do. Because you know what? 10 years from now, you're going to be doing whatever you're doing 10 years from now anyway. If you're sitting here going, oh, it's too expensive now. If you had done that in 2017 at $1,000 and you didn't buy, eventually $500 worth of half a Bitcoin back then, it's 7 years later and you're still doing what you were doing then. You're continuing on your life, but your Bitcoin is now worth, 26,000 for that 500 you
Dude,
put in.
I know a guy that bought, I think, $75 Bitcoin in size. He sold it at 3,000
Yeah, it's
and
unbelievable.
could never get back in. He's
Yeah,
like, no, I can't. I just can't buy $30,000. I sold it for three. Like this is a big problem. Most people. That's why you shouldn't trade because most people look at that and go, well, no. I have to admit now I made a mistake
yeah,
selling at three. I made a mistake. Now I have to pay for it.
yeah,
And this is a wild market to like, you could really get, if your psychology isn't strong, you
mhm,
shouldn't be in this market. This is, and we're going to get more. Do you agree with me? We'll end here.
yeah, yeah,
More
yeah. It's going to get
volatility,
crazier. Yeah, when this thing's
more
going to kick
volatility.
up. Oh yeah.
Fucking volatility is going to be, I think more people go broke in this cycle than any other cycle.
I think there's a good chance of that. I really do. Once that volatility kicks up, the emotions kick up even greater. And man, and now you've got all the narrative about the ETFs and all the other money coming in now. So, when you lose money, then you're going to be hearing that going, damn it, I shouldn't have traded. I should have just held it.
Yeah. Well, and then at this price, these people are going to look at this and go, okay, I'm not going to go buy Warren Berkshire at $8,000, even though it's trading at like several hundred now. I can't afford 52. I'm going to go buy a token.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get wiped out. That I think that's where we're going to see all the blood is
sure.
people chasing the coins. And I think there's going to be some professional swing traders in there to clip their wings.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's easy money. I'm going to be honest with you right now. Trading the shit coins is easy money if you know what you're doing. The problem is most of retail, most of the people that we see online and, social media don't know what they're doing for the great part of it. Not meant to be, disrespectful to say that, but just to be honest about it, because as somebody who knows what they're doing, man, the opportunities are there and it makes it easy. We don't have to do anything. You do it to yourself. We're
Yeah.
just there to pick it up, we're just there to collect it up. We got money when we need it and we'll buy it up and then we'll sell it when we need it. And you'll be excited to buy it at that point. And, it's the cycle, right?
Yeah, I have a client who's a high frequency trader, and he said as soon as the ETF launches, I'm out. And I said, why? He said, oh, dude, the people who are getting ready to walk into this game make me look like I'm a little minnow. And it's been very easy picking these amateurs off. These guys are going to rape and pillage them.
Yeah.
They'll be happy to make $300-400 million in fees.
Oh yeah. Every day.
They'll, those guys will never come back in the market though. Like the guys that we race off, like to me, it's a huge warning. You should really, really be careful here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, you got to have, man, I'm going to say it one more time. Even if you're trading, you should have some kind of Bitcoin sitting in there that you're not touching, not in the same account, not anything.
That's
You don't,
right.
you buy it, you put it in this wallet over there, you never look at it again.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
least for 10 years or something, because otherwise it's too tempting to lose your money as a trader and then to go in there and just take it and put it in there. And then you lose that too. And then, like I said, a few years go by, you're like, if only I had held it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
life's full of
awesome.
regrets.
Chris, thank you so much. I know so many people got help today. Really appreciate it. I know I'll see you in some spaces, and keep up the great work you're doing on YouTube. It's where do they go to see your YouTube channel, by the way?
Just youtube.com/Texas West Capital.
Texas West Capital. You guys follow this cat. He's awesome. And
I
if you're
appreciate
near
it, man.
Houston, you should ping him because he'll probably buy you some barbecue.
There you go.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
I
it, dude.
appreciate it, man. Take care.
See you next week. Ciao.